What is going on, guys, and welcome to a brand new video. And I do apologize if my voice sounds pretty raspy and pretty crappy. I do have a pretty nasty cold right now, but I did want to bring you guys this video. So today we're going to be breaking down why Mirana has a 49.38% win rate. This hero is definitely very overlooked, but the fact that you have Moonlight Shadow and the fact that you have leaps, which is a very nice escape, and Starstorm is very nice burst damage, it does fare pretty well even with newer players. Landing arrows is always going to be a skill shot. It's always going to be difficult even for advanced Mirana players. You're always going to be maxing Starstorm. You're going to take 1 point in arrow and 1 point in leap. That's going to be your skill build, and then that's always going to be very strong because not only can you farm, you can actually burst supports down, you can go for easy ganks, and it's always going to be good just to have that 1 point in arrow and 1 point in leap. You could even max leap right after or max arrow. It depends. If you have easy setup to land arrows, then you should max arrow and leave 1 point in leap. But if you don't have great setup for arrows, then max your leap, as it's going to be great attack speed and it's going to be very nice to have those charges. Now that Mirana is a universal hero, it makes her really strong because she can practically build anything. This hero can build wraith bands, it can build a bracer, it can build greaves, it can build a spirit vessel, it can build the euls. There's so many things this hero can build, and it honestly feels really good to build anything on this hero. She can build a Gleipnir if you guys need extra catch and extra setup, and also to push lanes is always going to be good because you have Starstorm as well. But the build I recommend you guys to go is going to be either treads or mana boots. It honestly depends on what you need. You can be a little bit greedier, you can go for the treads, but if you have a lot of mana intensive heroes, you should go for the mana boots. It's always going to feel really good. You should go for euls or a solar crest. Those are going to be really strong items for you to have in the early game, especially from position 4. Or you can go for a spirit vessel if you are going to get value from it. If it's not going to be a good spirit vessel game, then definitely don't buy it just for the sake of it. It's still going to be really good stats, but you could benefit a lot better from an item like euls, which you could eventually in the late game turn into a wind waker, which is a really big deal. It's one of the strongest items in the current patch. You could also build items like drums. You could build items like Vlad's. There's really nothing this hero can't build. I've seen people building pipe on this hero when it's a really good pipe game and you have a greedy offlaner that doesn't want to buy that item. You can do it on the Mirana. That's why I love this hero so much. Not only do you have Moonlight Shadow, which is very good initiation, especially the lower MMR you go, there's very good chances that they don't have sentries everywhere. It's very easy for you guys to get a really nice gank, and it's also easy to get players out of really sticky situations in the early game when they're not carrying dust. It's also a hero that can gank easily. If you have a mid laner who has a really strong stun, then you're able to land your arrow with it. I've seen a lot of players picking Mars Mirana lane. It's a pretty strong lane. When you have spear into arrow, you could also go centaur Mirana lane. They're both very, very strong lanes. They're very difficult to beat because once the centaur lands the stomp, you're going to land that arrow, you're going to land the Starstorm, and with the amount of damage, because you're maxing Starstorm, most targets are going to die, and it just offers you a lot from the position 4. You could play position 5 Mirana. I just feel like position 4 is much better for her. Now I'm going to be breaking down some of her best and worst matchups. So some of her best matchups are Morphling, Anti-Mage, Sniper, Phantom Assassin. Honestly, there's nothing more rewarding than finding a Morphling in the jungle, max agility, and you just pop him with the arrow, leap into Starstorm, and maybe even a vessel or an urn charge. That Morphling is going to die 99% of the time. It's going to be so difficult for him to get out of that unless he has a ward. He already sees you coming, he can easily dodge it, but you can easily Moonlight Shadow and go for solo pickoffs against a hero like Morphling, who likes to be full agi. That way he can get the most amount of farm. Heroes like Anti-Mage also can't dispel the arrow, so it's a really big issue for them if you are landing your arrows. Starstorm is also really good damage, as the Anti-Mage isn't as tanky, and you can easily get away from him with leaps, as he's not going to burn a lot of blinks just to chase you. It's just not worth his time. And then some of the bad matchups are Meepo, Naga Siren, Broodmother, and Doom. Meepo is just a hero who doesn't really care a whole lot about your entire kit. You don't provide enough burst damage or setup to do anything to the Meepo. Sure, if you land an arrow and he's by himself and you have your team behind you, sure, you can definitely do something. It's just a really tough matchup because he can easily net you, prevent you from leaping, and just killing you very, very easily. Naga Siren is another hero who can just net you and just deal with you very, very easily, especially with the illusions. You're not going to have a really good time against these matchups that have illusions. It's just not fun. And Doom just does what Doom does. He just gets on top of you and easily obliterates you. So there's not really a whole lot Mirana does to these matchups. Obviously, if you are playing with your team, you can always land an arrow and create a ton of impact, but play more around Starstorm. I see a lot of players who are just always looking for that insane blind arrow, you guys need to keep in mind you have to play around Starstorm. Arrow is a really big part of it, but if you go for an item like euls, you're going to have free setup for your arrow. But Starstorm is one of the strongest abilities you have in your toolkit. Make sure you use it. Make sure you use Moonlight Shadow effectively with your team. Make sure you're all in communication so you're able to get the most amount of value out of Moonlight Shadow, and don't just use it to save a core that's already going to die no matter what. So don't burn that cooldown, as it's a really heavy cooldown in the early game, and it's something you can need to get out of further sticky situations or to set up for a gank on a hero that is snowballing. At the end of the day, my recommendation is you guys start playing this hero. Even though it's a 49% win rate, it's still quite strong in the meta. It's been picked quite heavily at Dream League. A lot of players are putting a lot value into the support Mirana, mostly from Moonlight Shadow, and just because Starstorm does crazy burst damage, it's always going to be very good, and she could practically build anything. It just makes her very viable in the meta. So hopefully you guys do enjoy. If you guys are Mirana players, let me know in the comment section below what is your current favorite build on Mirana. I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.